indifferent to his erratic behavior, his obvious mental decline, his history as a convicted felon. Please, do not hand our fates over to the likes of Trump, who knows nothing about us, who has shown deep contempt for us. Because a vote for him is a vote against us, against our health, against our worth. A known slumlord, a predator found liable for sexual abuse. All of this while we pick apart Kamala's answers from interviews that he doesn't even have the courage to do, y'all.
That wasn't a warning. That was a detonation. Michelle Obama didn't call his name. She called out the entire lie, the power, the marriage, the silence. Trump snapped. Melania vanished. And the mask of the perfect first couple crumbled in prime time. All clips are real. So if you still think this is just politics as usual, you might want to stick around.
And last week, we saw this candidate actually bragging about sexually assaulting women. And I can't believe that I'm saying that a candidate for president of the United States has bragged about sexually assaulting women.
She didn't scream. She didn't exaggerate. She just said it exactly as it is. A man running for president bragged about sexual assault, and somehow, this country let that slide for many years. Michelle didn't bring this up to score political points. She brought it up because it still hasn't sunk in. This isn't locker room talk. It's not just Trump being Trump. It's a man in power, describing abuse and expecting applause. And when a candidate can boast about that on camera, what else are we willing to normalize?
Well, why do you say that? And this little 6-year-old said, because the other guy called someone a piggy. And he said, you cannot be president if you call someone a piggy. So even a 6-year-old knows better. A 6-year-old knows that this is not how adults behave. This is not how decent human beings behave. And this is certainly not how someone who wants to be president of the United States behaves.
When a 6-year-old can spot the moral line, but millions of adults choose to ignore it, that's not politics anymore. That's a crisis of conscience. Michelle wasn't being cute. She was showing us how far the bar has fallen. A child still learning how to spell president has a clearer sense of decency than the man trying to become one. Because what's really shocking isn't that Trump said it, it's that so many people heard it and still shrugged.
And the one thing this president is really, really good at is using fear and confusion and spreading lies to win. Honesty? The knowledge that any of my fellow Americans is more afraid of me than the chaos we are living through right now, well, that hurts.
Michelle wasn't just reacting to one disgusting sentence. She was exposing the playbook behind it. Because this wasn't an accident. It was a pattern, a tactic, a campaign built not on ideas, but on division, distortion, and fear. That's what makes it personal, not just what Trump said, but how far we've let the standard fall. And what hurts the most is that in today's America, a woman telling the truth can feel more dangerous than a man bragging about abuse.
But for Trump, we expect nothing at all. No understanding of policy, no ability to put together a coherent argument, no honesty, no decency, no morals. Instead, too many people are willing to write off his childish, mean-spirited antics by saying, well, Trump's just being Trump, rather than question his horrible behavior. Some folks think he's funny. And if you remember, that's exactly how he got elected the first time. Folks gave him a pass and rolled the dice, betting that he couldn't possibly be that bad.
For Michelle, it wasn't just political, it was personal. Because when a man can brag about abuse and still be cheered on, it feels like every woman has been told to just laugh it off. Again, that familiar sting on the street, at work, At home, when you're disrespected, humiliated, and then expected to stay quiet because he's just being a man. Michelle felt it. Millions of women felt it. And in that moment, she said what too many have swallowed for too long. This isn't normal. This isn't funny. And we are done pretending it is.
Michelle Obama's speech last night where she said that you're in over your head and the wrong president for the country.
She was over her head, and frankly, she should have made the speech live, which she didn't do. She taped it, and it was not only taped, it was taped a long time ago because she had the wrong deaths. And frankly, I wouldn't even be here if it weren't for Barack Obama. See, we're standing in the White House. I wouldn't be in the White House except for Barack Obama because they did a bad job, Biden and Obama. And if they did a good job, I wouldn't be here.
When Michelle spoke from the heart, Trump responded with a checklist. Blame the Obamas. Dismiss the facts. Attack the format. No apology. No accountability. Just the same tired deflection. As if being recorded was more offensive than bragging about sexual assault. But what came next was even more grotesque. Grab a jacket, because this next part will chill you to the bone.
With your support on November 5th, you know what's nasty to me? Michelle Obama. I always tried to be so nice and respectful. Oh, she opened up a little bit of a box. She opened up a little bit of something. Oh, she was nasty. Ooh. Shouldn't be that way. That was a big mistake that she made.
Trump's ego has two settings, flattery or meltdown. And when Michelle Obama didn't flatter him, didn't even raise her voice, he spiraled. He called her nasty, like a kid sulking after a spelling bee loss. She opened up a box, he mumbled, like Michelle summoned a demon instead of listing facts. But here's the twist. The only box Michelle opened was Pandora's, and Trump wasn't ready for what came out.
It'd be dangerous just to bring them back to their countries. Their countries weren't accepting them back until I came. You know, with Barack Hussein Obama, I call him the Great Divider. He's the Great Divider. And he hit, and Michelle hit me. I was so nice to her. Out of respect, I was so nice. She hit me the other day. I was going to say to my people, am I allowed to hit her now? They said, take it easy, sir. Sir, take it easy. My geniuses, I'm telling you, they said, just take it easy. Oh, what do you mean? She said bad about me. I can't hit.
This wasn't a speech. It was a tantrum. Trump bounced from blaming immigrants to calling Obama the Great Divider to asking on stage if he's allowed to hit Michelle Obama. Yes, you heard that right. He wasn't joking. He wasn't debating. He was unraveling live. Because when powerful women speak calmly and clearly, insecure men like Trump don't argue back. They flail, they panic, they ask if they're allowed to hit. Let that sink in.
We have a candidate for president of the United States who over the course of his lifetime, in the course of this campaign, has said things about women that are so shocking, so demeaning.
Michelle didn't need to exaggerate. She just held up a mirror, and what stared back was a man who spent his entire public life saying things about women that no decent father would let his son repeat. Not one slip-up, not one scandal. A lifetime pattern of cruelty, mockery, and power games at women's expense. And maybe that's why her next words didn't feel political. They felt like a verdict.
Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs? Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black.
And then Michelle dropped a line that hit deeper than any headline. Who's going to tell him that the job he's seeking might just be one of those black jobs? That wasn't a joke. That was an autopsy report on a man so threatened by black excellence, he tried to make the whole country fear it too. She wasn't just questioning his morals, she was questioning his fitness. Because how can you lead a diverse nation when you're terrified of the people in it?
His same old con, doubling down on ugly overtly misogynistic, racist lies as a substitute for real ideas and solutions that will actually make people's lives better. We are indifferent to his erratic behavior, his obvious mental decline, his history as a convicted felon. Please, do not hand our fates over to the likes of Trump, who knows nothing about us, who has shown deep contempt for us. Because a vote for him is a vote against us, against our health, against our worth.
Michelle didn't just speak truth to power, she stripped the power bare. She called him what the courts called him, a predator, a convicted abuser, a man found liable for sexual assault. And while the country nitpicks Kamala's interview answers, he doesn't even have the courage to face real questions. But somehow, he still gets the benefit of the doubt. So Michelle made it plain. A vote for Trump is not just a political choice. It's a vote against women, against health, against human worth.
Well, that surely doesn't sound like freedom to me. Because let me tell you, in any other profession or arena, Trump's criminal track record and amoral character would be embarrassing, shameful, and disqualifying. So, I hope that you will forgive me if I am worried that we will blow this opportunity to finally turn the page on the ugliness once and for all. Because believe me, if Donald Trump is president again, at some point or another, that ugliness will touch all of our lives. And it will not matter what you look like, how you worship, who you love, or how you vote.
And then, with all the force of a mother, a first lady, and a citizen who's seen too much, Michelle said what so many have felt, but few dared to say out loud. This is not freedom. Because in any other job, a criminal record like Trump's wouldn't earn you a promotion. It'd earn you a restraining order. Anywhere else, his name would be on a blacklist, not a ballot. But politics, she warns, has a dangerous way of normalizing the abnormal. And if we don't stop it now, his ugliness won't stay in headlines. It'll come home. Trump screamed. Melania disappeared. Stick around, because their circus act is just getting started.
That you work hard for what you want in life.
For what you want in life.
That your word is
That your
bond.
word is your bond. That you do what you say you're going to do.
Keep your promise.
That you treat people
That you treat people
with dignity and respect, and because we want our children and all children in this nation to know that the only limit to the height of your achievements is the reach of your dreams and your willingness to work hard for them.
The words you just heard, they were Michelle Obama's. But in 2016, Melania Trump stood on a national stage and delivered those exact lines, almost word for word. Same message, same tone, just not the same woman. And when the plagiarism scandal broke, Melania didn't explain. She didn't apologize. She disappeared. No press, no interviews, just vanished into the shadows while Donald ranted on her behalf. But Michelle, she didn't fight back with insults. She responded the only way she knows how, with dignity. One woman copied, the other woman chose grace.
Melania Trump was so criticized for using what turned out to be a portion of your speech. But do you have any sympathy? Because there are people around her creating things, and, you know, I have some sympathy for her. Do you understand how that might be sympathetic for what happened to her?
Yeah, that was tough.
Melania copied Michelle, got caught, disappeared, and somehow she got the sympathy. Michelle, she stayed calm, graceful. Because class doesn't scream, it just stands tall. But Melania's silence was only half the story. Stick around.
Michelle Obama gives a speech, and everyone loves it. It's fantastic. They think she's absolutely great. My wife, Melania, gives the exact same speech. And people get on her case. And I don't get it. I don't know why. And it wasn't her fault. Stand up, Melania. Come on. She took a lot of abuse. Oh, I'm in trouble when I go home tonight. She didn't know about that one.
Trump said Melania gave the exact same speech as Michelle. Well, maybe that's the problem, because when you parrot greatness without understanding it, it's not leadership, it's lazy mimicry. And no, Donald, dignity can't be downloaded and read off a teleprompter.
And of course, Melania would plagiarize Michelle Obama's speech at the Democratic National Convention. Literally, Melania's speech during Trump's first Republican National Convention was literally copy and pasted of Michelle Obama's speech.
Of course she plagiarized it, because parroting dignity is easier than earning it. But here's the twist. When the truth hit the headlines, Michelle didn't lash out. She didn't mock. She didn't sue. She rose above it. And that, right there, is the difference between reciting words and living them. But if you think that's the end of the circus, think again. Because what came next was even more pathetic.
So do you think Donald Trump is thinking about the consequences for the millions of women who will be living in medical deserts? Does anyone think he has the emotional maturity and foresight to come up with a plan to protect us? Y'all, we are teetering on the edge. Even before these state bans, America was already lagging behind every other wealthy nation on measures like maternal mortality and paid leave.
Every word hits like a warning siren. Michelle Obama isn't talking about policy papers or campaign slogans. She's talking about hospitals closing, women bleeding alone, and a country too numb to notice. Because when a man like Trump sees a woman's body, he doesn't see risk or responsibility, he sees power. And that should terrify us more than any headline. He's not thinking about your health. Are you still thinking about giving him your vote?
So, I am praying that those of us contemplating voting for Trump or not voting at all will snap out of whatever fog we are in. I am praying that we consider the decades of sacrifice and struggle by all of our ancestors, the folks who marched and sacrificed and shed their blood for us. We have to ask ourselves, is a vote for Trump or no vote at all the way we honor their lives?
This isn't just about politics. It's about memory, about legacy. Michelle isn't asking for applause. She's pleading for clarity. Because when we forget who marched before us, who bled for our right to choose, we risk handing our future to someone who wouldn't even read the names on their gravestones. And Trump, he's not just a bad choice. He's an insult to every woman who ever had to fight to be seen, heard, or saved. A vote for Trump isn't neutrality. It's betrayal dressed as apathy.
See, fellas, most of us women, we suck up our pain and we deal with it alone. We don't share our experiences with anyone, not with our partners, or our friends, or even our doctors. Look, a woman's body is complicated business, y'all. Yes, it brings life, and that's a beautiful thing. But even when we are not bearing children, there is so much that can go wrong at any moment.
This is the part most politicians never touch because it's not sexy. It's not a slogan. Michelle speaks the truth every woman knows but rarely says out loud. The female body carries pain in silence. Not just labor pain, but the quiet ache of being ignored, dismissed, endangered. Trump brags about grabbing women. Michelle reminds us how often women have to quietly survive. One speaks to dominate, the other speaks to protect. This election isn't just about power, it's about who truly understands pain.
You get to choose. You get to use your judgment and cast your vote for yourself and the women in your life. Remember, women, standing up for what is best for us can make the difference in this election. So let us use our voices in these final days to make it plain to the men in our lives that we need to stand not with Trump, but with us. We need them to vote for the only candidate in this race who will protect our lives.
It's not just a vote, it's a lifeline. Michelle isn't pleading. She's inviting every woman to reclaim her voice, and every man to decide, will you vote for a man who brags about assault, or will you vote for the women in your life? In the end, it's not about sides, it's about survival. Because when we vote, we're not just choosing a president, we're choosing who holds our lives in their hands. And Michelle's question cuts through the noise. Do we really want that to be Trump?
Many are speaking out. His chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, for example, said, and these are his words, that Trump is fascist to the core. His Joint Chief of Staff. These folks know that nothing this man says or does is funny in any way. So I hope you'll forgive me if I'm a little frustrated that some of us are choosing to ignore Donald Trump's gross incompetence while asking Kamala to dazzle us at every turn.
Michelle didn't sugarcoat it. While the nation nitpicks Kamala Harris for not being dazzling enough, Trump gets a free pass for being dangerously incompetent. Her tone wasn't bitter, it was exasperated. Because when even his own generals call him fascist to the core, the real question isn't how bad he is, but how blind we're willing to be.
This about the speech.
We were now up against a bully, challenging the dignity of our country with practically his every utterance.
Crooked Hillary Clinton.
It was dignity I wanted to make an appeal.
This is not normal. This is not politics as usual. This is disgraceful. It is intolerable.
For Mrs. Obama, the stakes could not have been higher. She writes,
I articulated my rage and my fear, along with my faith that with this election, Americans understood the true nature of what they were choosing between.
This wasn't just about Trump. It was about the dignity of a nation under siege, one insult at a time. Michelle Obama didn't yell. She didn't stoop to his level. She stood taller. With every word, she wasn't just confronting a bully, she was reminding America of who we are when we still have a soul. This wasn't politics as usual. This was a test of national character.
This is disgraceful. It is intolerable. And it doesn't matter what party you belong to, Democrat, Republican, Independent, no woman deserves to be treated this way. None of us deserves this kind of abuse. Let's be very clear, strong men, men who are truly role models, don't need to put down women to make themselves feel powerful. People who are truly strong lift others up. People who are truly powerful bring others together. And that is what we need in our next president.
This isn't about red or blue. It's about respect. It's about a line that should never have been crossed, and a chance to finally draw it back. Michelle Obama didn't plead for votes. She called for courage, for women to remember the battles already fought in their name, and to pick up that baton with a single, private, powerful act, the vote. Because in a world where strong men don't tear women down to feel big, but lift them up to build something greater, your silence isn't neutrality, it's surrender. So don't vote out of habit, vote out of honor. And if your home won't listen to your voice, let your ballot do the talking. Respect isn't a privilege, it's a standard. And your vote is how you reclaim it. When a man can brag about assaulting women and still run for president, it's no longer personal, it's national. Michelle Obama reminded us, silence is complicity, and the one thing no one can take away from you is your vote. Use it, not out of loyalty, but for what's right. Trump screamed. Melania disappeared. And Michelle? She told the truth, and the whole country had to listen. If you're still thinking about voting for him, maybe rewind and listen again. This video is a work of commentary and satire intended for educational and journalistic purposes under the Fair Use Doctrine, 17 U.S. Code Section 107. All clips, images, and references belong to their respective copyright holders. We do not claim ownership of any third-party content and do not intend to defame, misrepresent, or harm any individual or entity. The views expressed in this video are those of the creators and do not necessarily reflect the views of any public figure shown. Viewer discretion is advised.